Recognize the biases. I emotionally. I'm sorry. Emotions are continually affecting our thought processes and decisions below the level of our awareness. And the most common emotion of them all is the desire for pleasure and the avoidance of pain. Our thoughts almost inevitably revolve around this desire. We simply recoil from entertaining ideas that are unpleasant or painful to us. We imagine we are looking for the truth or being realistic, when in fact we are holding on to ideas that bring a release from tension and soothe our egos, make us feel superior. This plus principle in thinking is the source of all of our mental biases. If you believe that you are somehow immune to any of the following biases, it is simply an example of the pleasure principle in action. Confirmation bias. I look at the evidence and arrive at my decisions through more or less rational processes. But because of the pleasure principle and its unconscious influence, we manage to find evidence that confirms what we want to believe. This is known as confirmation bias. In the end, people want to hear their own ideas, and the preference is confirmed by an expert opinion. They will interpret what you say in light of what they want to hear, and if your advice runs counter to their desires, they will find some way to dismiss your opinion, your so-called expertise. The more popular the person, the more they are subject to this form of confirmation bias. When investigating confirmation biases in the world, take a look at theories that seem a little too good to be true. Conviction bias. I believe in this idea so strongly, it must be true. Those, on the other hand, who express nuances, whose tone is more hesitant, reveal weaknesses, self-doubt. They're probably lying, or so we think. This bias makes us susceptible to salesmen and demagogues who display conviction as way to convince and deceive. They know that people are hungry for entertainment, so they cloak their half-truths with the dramatic effects. Appearance bias. I understand the people that what? I see them just as they are. We see people not as they are, but as they appear to us, and these appearances are usually misleading. First, people have trained themselves in social situations to present the front that is appropriate and that will be judged positively. They seem to be in favor of the noblest causes, always presenting themselves as hardworking and conscientious. We take these masks for reality. Second, we are prone to fall for the halo effect. When you see certain negative or positive qualities in a person, social awkwardness, intelligence, other positive or negative qualities are implied that fit with this. People who are good looking generally seem more trustworthy, particularly politicians. If a person is successful, we imagine they are probably also ethical, conscientious, and deserving of their good fortune. This obscures the fact that many people who have gotten ahead on so through lots of moral actions, which they cleverly disguise from view. The group bias. My ideas are my own. I do not listen to the group. I'm not a conformist. We are social animals by nature. The feeling of isolation, of difference from the group, is depressing and terrifying. We experience tremendous relief when we find others who think the same way we do. In fact, we are motivated to take up ideas and opinions because they bring us this relief. We are unaware of this pull, and so imagine we have to come to certain ideas completely on our own. Yet few would ever admit this influence under the patterns. The blame bias. I learned from experiencing mistakes. Mistakes and failures elicit the need to explain. They want they want to learn the lesson and not repeat the experience. But in truth, we do not like to look too closely at what we did. Our introspection is limited. Our natural response is to blame others, circumstances, or momentary lapse of judgment. The reason for these biases is I'm sorry. The reason for these biases is that it is often too painful to look at our mistakes. It calls into question our feelings of superiority. It pokes at our ego. Superiority bias. I'm different. I'm more rational than others. More ethical as well. People say this to people in conversation. It sounds arrogant, but in numerous opinion polls and studies, when asked to compare themselves with others, people generally express an variation of this. It's the equivalent of an optical illusion. We cannot seem to see our faults and irrationalities, only those of others. We know, however, the reality, and so some people, perhaps all of us, are merely deceiving ourselves. Rationality and ethical qualities must be achieved through awareness and effort. They do not come naturally. They come through a maturation process. Beware the inflaming factors. Low-grade emotions continue to affect our thinking, and they originated from our own impulses. For instance, the desire for poetic and comforting thoughts. High-grade emotion, however, comes in certain moments, reaches an explosive pitch, and is generally sparked by something external. A person who gets under our skin or particular circumstances, the level of arousal is higher and our attention is captured completely. The more we think about the emotion, the stronger it gets, which makes us focus even more on it, and so on and so forth. Our minds turn into the emotion, and everything reminds us of our anger or excitement. We become reactive. Because we are unable to bear the tension this brings, high-grade emotion usually culminates in some rash action with disastrous consequences. In the middle of such an attack, we feel possessed, as if a second limbic self has taken over. It is best to be aware of these factors so that you can stop the mind from tunneling and prevent the related action that you will always come to regret. You should also be aware of high-grade irrationality in others to either get out of the way or help bring them back to reality. Trigger points from early childhood. In early childhood, we are at our most sensitive and vulnerable. Our relationship to our parents had a much greater impact on us the further back in time we go. The same can be said for any early powerful experience. These vulnerabilities and wounds remain buried deep within our minds. Sometimes we try to repress the memory of these influences if they happen to be negative, great fears or humiliations. Sometimes, however, they are associated with the positive emotions, experiences of love and attention they will continually want to relieve. Later in life, a person or event will trigger memory of this positive or negative experience and will release powerful chemicals or hormones associated with the memory. Take, for example, a young man who had a distant narcissistic mother. As an infant or child, he experienced an coldness as abandonment, and to be abandoned must mean he was somehow unworthy of her love. Or similarly, a new sibling on the scene caused his mother to give him much less attention, which he equally experienced as abandonment. Later in life, in a relationship, a woman might hint at disapproval of some trait or action of his, all of which is part of a healthy relationship. This will hit a trigger point. She's noticing his flaws, which he imagines precedes her abandonment of him. He feels a powerful rush of emotion, a sense of imminent betrayal. He doesn't see the source of this. It is beyond his control. He overreacts, accuses, withdraws, all of which leads to the very thing he feared, abandonment. His reaction was to some reflection in his mind, not to the reality. This is the height of irrationality. The way to recognize this in yourself and in others is by noticing behavior that is suddenly childish in its intensity and seemingly out of character. This could center on any key emotion. It could be fear of losing control or failure. In this case, we react by withdrawing from the situation and the presence of others, like a child curling up into a ball. A sudden illness brought on by the intense fear will conveniently cause us to have to leave the scene. It could be love desperately searching to recreate a close parental or sibling relationship in the present, triggered by someone who vaguely reminds us of the lost paradise. It could be extreme mistrust, originating from an authority figure in early childhood who disappointed or betrayed us, generally the father. This often triggers a certain rebellious attitude. The great danger here is that misreading the present and reacting to something in the past, we create conflict, disappointments, and mistrust that only strengthen the wound. In some ways, we are programmed to repeat our experience in the present. Our only defense is awareness as it is happening. We can recognize any trigger point by experience of emotions that are unusually primal or uncontrollable than normal. They trigger tears, deep depression, or excessive hope. People under the spell of these emotions will often have a very different tone of voice and body language, as if they were physically reliving a moment from early life. In the midst of such an attack, we must struggle to detach ourselves and contemplate the possible source, the wound in early childhood. Yes, I should notice that. It is not react to reality. This is just enough for the the wound in early childhood. And the patterns it has locked us into. This deep understanding of ourselves and our vulnerabilities is the key step toward becoming rational. Sudden gains or losses, sudden success or winnings can be very dangerous. Neurologically, chemicals are released in the brain that give it a powerful jolt of arousal and energy, leading to the desire to repeat this experience. It can be the start of any kind of addiction and manic behavior. Also, when gains come quickly, we tend to lose sight of basic wisdom that true success, to really last, must come through hard work. We acquire feelings of grandiosity. We become especially resistant to anyone who tries to warn us. They don't understand. We tear ourselves. Because this cannot be sustained, we experience an inevitable fall, which is all the more painful, leading to the depression part of the cycle. Although gamblers are the most prone to this, it equally applies to business people during bubbles and to people who gain sudden attention from the public. Unexpected losses or a string of losses equally create irrational reactions. The solution here is simple. Whenever you experience any unusual gains or losses, that is precisely the time to step back and counterbalance them with some necessary pessimism or optimism. Be actually aware of sudden success and attention. They are not built on anything that lasts, and they have an addictive pull. And the fall is always painful. Rising pressure, the people around you generally appear sane and in control of their lives. But put any of them in stressful circumstances with the pressure rising, and you will see a different reality. The cool mask of self-control comes off. They suddenly lash out in anger, reveal a paranoid streak, and become hypersensitive and often petty. Under stress or any threat, the most primitive parts of the brain are aroused and engaged, overwhelming people's reasoning powers. In fact, stress or tension can reveal flaws in people that they have carefully concealed from view. It is often wise to observe people in such moments, precisely as a way to judge their true character. Whenever you notice rising pressure and stress levels in your life, you must watch yourself carefully. Monitor any signs of unusual brittleness or sensitivity, sudden suspicions, fears disproportionate to the circumstances. Observe with as much detachment as possible, finding time and space to be alone. You need a perspective. Never imagine that you are someone who can withstand rising stress without emotional language. It is not possible, but through self-awareness and reflection, you can prevent yourself from making decisions you will come to regret. It is best to recognize these inflammers by how they affect others. Group bias. Being in a group does not stimulate independent reasoning, but rather intense desire to belong. It is often best to avoid the group setting if possible in order to maintain your reasoning powers, or to enter such moments with the maximum skepticism. Demagogues in politics or media try to stir a continuous sense of panic, urgency, and outrage. They must keep the emotional levels high. Your defense is simple. Consider your reasoning powers, your ability to think for yourself, your most precious possession. Resent any kind of intrusion upon your independent mind by others. When you feel you're in the presence of demagogue, become doubly wary and analytical. The irrational simply changes its look and its fashions. Rational knowledge is something to be acquired by individuals